Tell me about the name Investrio. Where did that name stem from? What does it mean?
I wish I had a good answer for this. There used to be 3 steps to get out of credit card debt and to build wealth: the budgeting, planning, and then investing.
Yeah.
And that's where the trio came from.
Ah,
It's so hard to name a company.
everything's taken. When you tell your friends, your family, like, hey guys, I'm going to go like quit this mega institution to go and like work at a startup that could maybe like be a blockbuster, but also could go bankrupt. What was the reaction? Did anybody be like, girl, what the hell are you doing?
Everybody said that.
What happens oftentimes with entrepreneurs is they get married to an idea and they're like, I'm riding this shit till the wheels fall off. Ma'am, all your tires are flat. Like the battery is dead. Why are we still trying to push this fucking car forward? How do you accept that and like not dig the hole deeper for yourself?
The data was there and we just had to listen to it. And that's like what fed our intuition, I think, even further. We're like, yeah, we're going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's good. Sometimes you got to pause.
All right, mi gente, we are back for another episode of Yo Quiero Dinero. And I am so excited because today we have something that is like what do they call it? A unicorn in the startup world. It's like a very, very unique story I'm going to be sharing with you today, and a very unique, powerful, badass mujer who is doing the Lord's work in empowering us as business owners, as first gen, as people of color in this world of finance, because Lord knows we need all the tools we can get, especially when you're like out here trying to figure out, how do I manage my business finances? How do I keep this thing running without freaking going into bankruptcy? And so I'm so excited to welcome Joyce Medeiros, the co-founder of Investrio. It is a financial platform built to support solopreneurs and help them navigate the challenges that come with managing both your personal and your business finances. Okay, so Joyce, welcome to the show. I'm so freaking excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I've been following you for years.
I love it. I have also been following you and the work that you've been doing for years. So it's so really like inspiring to just see you bringing this platform to life. Let's start off first with your background, your money story. Were you always intending to be a startup founder in the fintech world and like revolutionize the way that small businesses deal with their personal finances? Or like, what was the original dream?
Yeah, was I always a financial feminist? No, actually, I am a first generation immigrant. I came to America when I was 10 with my parents in search of a better life and education, like a lot of us. Ended up working on Wall Street after, working through college and having an economics degree. And from there, I ended up working at a startup. And that's when my passion for building things really got unraveled. And after that startup got acquired, I really was looking for something more mission driven, something more impactful, and something that I was really passionate about. And it was not a straight path to here, but it is definitely where we're going.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so let's dive in more to how you end up at Goldman Sachs in this, super white dude dominated world of Wall Street and finance. How does one end up there?
Yeah, so I graduated college with an economics degree and a lot of student loan debt. So I needed a job that paid well. Nobody in my family did corporate, so I was the first one ever to do it. And essentially, I did a summer internship at Goldman. I applied early, did a summer internship, networked my way through, essentially started an operation, started supporting the trading desk, then got an opportunity to join the trading desk, and that was really life changing. That was the first time I saw like the inner workings of Wall Street, got to manage over $1 billion of transactions,
Wow.
worked in interest rates for about 5 years, and had an amazing experience working with clients and really seeing how the business works. um, but it is very difficult, I will say. It did take a huge toll on my health, my personal health. And so towards the end, I was like, I want to do something else. I want to do something more exciting. And the startup world it was the 2018. It was pretty much the peak of finance and fintech. And so I joined a startup that was actually automating my job at Goldman.
Wow. Okay, so you're basically seeing like the beginning stages of now this AI revolution that a lot of folks are questioning, am I going to have a job in another decade? Like, what is society going to look like? And so I'm curious because, when you make it to places like Goldman, obviously that's like the cream of the crop when it comes to the prestige and just the exclusivity and the difficulty of even getting in those spaces. When you tell your friends, your family, like, hey guys, I'm going to go like quit this mega institution to go and like work at a startup that could maybe like, you know, be a blockbuster, but also could go bankrupt. Like, what was the reaction? Did anybody be like, girl, what the hell are you doing?
Everybody said that.
Tell me more. And also how you navigated those emotions because, oftentimes we are really programmed as first gen to like not do the scary shit. And that's completely contrary to like everything that you're doing.
100%. That was like my mom's initial reaction. Like, are you sure you're going to leave this very awesome job and experience that you're having at Goldman? And I said, yeah, I'm going to try something new. So a lot of people gave me the same feedback. Like, don't do it. Startups are risky. You're going to join this new startup, and God knows if like they'll be afloat in 6 months. What gave me some comfort was that they had just had a round of financing, and I was coming in at a time where they really were hiring me for growth at that point. So I had a little bit of knowledge that like I am jumping into a startup that has a lot of money and like they already have product market fit. I'm coming in to grow it. But I did get a lot of the looks, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people also walk away from you. They're like, oh, you're no longer at Goldman, you're no longer of potential service to me, so this friendship
Oh,
and is over. Which
wow.
highlights a lot of like the experience you have on Wall Street.
Yeah, it seems like it can be a very like opportunistic place for folks who are just looking for somebody to, whose shoulders can I climb up on to get to the
Mm,
next step.
precisely.
Wow. I'm curious too, just like as a woman, as a Latina, like did you find that the culture was hostile like overtly or was it more kind of, microaggression style,
Mm,
stuff?
that's an interesting one. To I had a great experience, so I won't say like I had a great experience there. My team was actually a lot of women, and we
Mm.
just got together for a wedding recently, and we were just trauma bonding over like what we went through. Um, but it was a lot of women, so there was a lot of support there. There were like no, there wasn't much diversity.
Mm.
So that was the hard part. Like nobody looks like you except for like the LATAM desk that supports Latin America.
Yeah.
So you're one of one. And then when it came to like my immigrant story too, it was something I obviously suppressed because nobody understands that story unless
Mm.
like you live it. Um, and so yeah, I mean, in many ways you kind of you take on a different persona to assimilate in a place like that. And I think also that's what led to like the decline of my mental health, to be very frank.
Yeah, I think that's a very shared experience with a lot of people when, you find yourself even in places like college, right? You're the first one in your family to go to college. You're like, what the hell is this place? And when you find yourself in corporate, it can be very much the same experience, almost like, how did I get here? Like who screwed up on the interview process? Because there's no way I'm qualified to be here. Like all those things tend to come up. And so I think so much of that is definitely tied to the fact that we just don't see ourselves represented in these spaces. So you're not alone, right? If you're listening to this and you're just like, holy shit, I've been feeling like that my entire career. Welcome to the first gen experience. Nice to have you. Thank you for being here. It's
You're
literally
paving
what
the way.
comes with it. You're doing it right. Okay, so let's talk about how you make the transition from working at the startup to now building your own, because I think that obviously takes a big level of self belief, of not being risk averse, which is kind of contrary to like how many of us operate. So take us behind the scenes of how that leap happened.
Yeah. So when I joined Quantitative Brokers, I was one of the first few female hires. Definitely their first hire for like marketing and sales specifically. So I came in to like sell trading algorithms to hedge funds and asset managers, really automate my previous job.
Yeah.
And at that time, AI wasn't as hot as it is now, but we were building AI. And essentially, I came in to grow that company, and the CEO looked at me like, "Hey, this isn't Goldman Sachs. Like, you're not going to call somebody and say like, do you want my product? They're going to originally take it." And I said to him, "But that's how we're going to change things." And so I vowed to build a brand. I vowed to like grow that industry and get us a name brand. So I was there for 5 years, and towards the end, we did get acquired. We did have that name brand recognition. I did grow my career, and it was an awesome experience, and it was a huge risk as well. Um, but that's what made me confident that
Mm,
this next time that I'm doing it, I know what I'm doing. It's because I've done it before. I have confidence in myself. I know that I can surround myself with extremely talented people, and we're going to build something that's just as wonderful.
mm. So, do you think that if you had not been in the startup world, that you would have taken the leap regardless? Or is part of what kind of opened up your mind to the possibility just the fact that you were in this environment?
I think so. I think it's a huge potential, right? I didn't get to do an MBA. I just couldn't afford it and I couldn't take the time to do it. But I think when you are in places like an MBA or in a startup, you get exposed to risk, you get exposed to possibility. And so the startup for me was my real life MBA. And it was the chance I had to like prove something, test things, and really, you know, take away the corporate mindset that I had before.
Mm,
Corporate's a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, a lot of red tape. And then startup is like, no, go do it. Like, best of luck, run an
mhm,
experiment. And so I think it taught me a lot. I think after that, I still had an unlearning even after the startup that, there is no boss, there is no red tape, there truly is no regulation when you are starting from 0 to 1 all over again. Try everything. And so yeah, I think you should surround yourself with the people, with the job, if that's the experience you want, or just have this true conviction deep down like, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to give up.
mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
literally going to win because I'm crazy.
Yeah. We have to be a little delirious as entrepreneurs, right? Because you're literally creating something that doesn't exist and hoping that other people care about it, right? It's part
Exactly.
of the fun. And I love what you're saying about kind of just curating the environment for you to learn the skills that you want to learn, become the version of yourself that you want to become. There's so much influence that happens in those types of environments. So it's a really important thing to remember. All right. So when you're coming up with this idea of this product that you're gonna build, Investrio, where was your initial thought process? And is the product that exists today the original idea or how has it evolved?
Oh no, it's embarrassingly different. I say that with like pride too, because we tell our story. We've been building in public live for the past year and a half, and we share all the times that we've like failed. We're like, nope, this didn't work. Because it's not just roses as an entrepreneur. It's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of fails, a lot of late night work. Um, so essentially, I started with an account called Latinx Investor, which is embarrassing because we don't like to be called Latinx. And I've heard this from the internet. But essentially, I was sharing my experience as a trader, as an investor, sharing my own personal finances first and foremost. This is like 2.5 years ago when I actually came across your account and learned all about digital entrepreneurship, how to build a blog, earn the passive income. And I was like, I want that. Um, and so I started sharing my story. But when I started doing that, I started getting the girl same. Oh my God, me too. This is my story. How did you figure it out? And essentially, I started sharing with people that, like, I had over $100,000 of credit or of student loan debt graduating college, which snowballed into credit card. And eventually, I was able to build wealth. And so I was sharing that story, and people were like, how did you do it? Teach me. And I started taking phone calls. I didn't know this then, but this was literally my customer research. And I started learning from people like, hey, where are you now? Do you have a budget? Do you use a tool? Like, what's your financial literacy knowledge? Do you read? Like, what is all the things, right? And essentially, I started talking to them about how can I potentially help you? Quickly built an Excel spreadsheet, started giving it away. It was a very simple product, very simple Excel spreadsheet to just get the finances right, just to help them map out their debts and then see if there's a potential for investment or even talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of taboo, right, when it comes to Latinos and investing.
Right.
A lot of them think it's a scam, a lot of them don't do it. And so I was just there like, hey, I have all these licenses. I'm technically legally able to talk to you about it, but this is not financial advice. This is just educational purposes. And for the first time ever, these people had a chance to talk to a financial advisor. And so I was doing my fiduciary effort to like explain to them, like, yes, you should definitely participate in your 401k. And no, you should definitely not buy this random crypto that is sliding in your DMs. So a lot of that happened, right? A lot of taboo. Long story short, did that for a while, built the first iteration of the product, helped about $1 million of credit card debt get cleared.
Wow.
That lent us the opportunity to get into Techstars, which was our first investor. And they are one of the biggest accelerators in the world. They invest in very, very early stage startups. And they saw the potential in us. We were really helping people get out of credit card debt and have that conversation about investing. We were really trying to be a money coach.
So for folks who don't know what an accelerator is, can you just give them a little background?
Yeah, so the accelerator programs are like usually 3 months or so, and they will test your idea through and through. And it is a challenge because you have to experiment how to get new customers, how to build a product, scale, etc. But it comes with a lot of resources, not just financial, but also mentorship.
Mm.
And so, anyone out there building a product, highly recommend looking for an accelerator if it's a good fit for you. But essentially, went through the accelerator a couple of weeks in, and my co-founder Laura, who's also Latina, we looked at each other and we're like, we just had this gut feeling of like, we're going the wrong way. We are
Mm.
not supposed to be building this, and we had already built it. We're not supposed to be building this, not supposed to be launching this. Let's rethink this. And we talked to our MD, the managing director running the program, and he was so kind. He was like, if you think you need to pivot, pivot now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it all started. We had to take a deep look at the data and realized so many of those people who had called in were entrepreneurs. So
Ooh.
many were solopreneurs. The reason they were in credit card debt wasn't because they weren't talented. They're extremely talented. It's that they're commingling finances. They're not understanding their cash flow. They don't have a good system. They don't trust the old crusty accounting tools that are out there, or they just don't know how to use them,
Mm-hmm.
to be frank. And so we looked at each other. We're like, wow, we've had this data the entire time. Like, I'm so glad we paused. And that's when True Investrio, that is out now in the App Store, was built. It was built late last year from understanding that we were going the wrong way and pivoting.
Wow. Okay, I want to dive into that more because I think what happens oftentimes with entrepreneurs is they get married to an idea and they're like, I'm riding this shit till the wheels fall off. Even when you know, like, ma'am, all your tires are flat, like the battery is dead. Like, why are we still trying to push this fucking car forward? So, how does one reconcile with, oh my God, we've invested so much time, energy, money into building this thing that we're essentially going to crash and burn because it's not where we need to be going. Like, how do you accept that and like not dig the hole deeper for yourself?
Yeah. So we had been building it for about 7 months at that point, and it was bootstrap. We literally took out our own savings. At this point, we have no jobs, no salaries. We're spending our own savings. We're applying to pitch competitions. Anything we win, we put right into it, and we built a very, very basic app. And we launched it in beta, and we had like maybe 30 people sign up. We're like, whoa, this is bad. And then the next couple of weeks, it's just like a declining in the wrong direction. And we just knew like the data doesn't lie. We make all decisions based on data, and the data just didn't lie. People
Yeah.
didn't want it. And when it comes to credit card debt, they want to talk to you one on one, individual. They want to talk about, their deep dark secrets with a human. They didn't really want to talk to AI. They didn't want to talk to an app.
Mm-hmm.
And so the data was there, and we just had to listen to it. And that's like what like fed our intuition, I think, even further. We're like, yeah, we're going the wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's good,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to pause to go faster.
Yeah. It's true. And, I think this feeds directly into the work that now you're helping small business owners do with the app, right? You're literally giving them the data so they can make better decisions about what they're doing with their money. So let's talk about that, right? When we think about small business, personal finance, what do you think? well, you obviously know the answer to this at this point because you've built an app to solve this problem. What are the biggest mistakes that new business owners, small business owners are making
Mhm.
with their finances that Investrio can help them accomplish?
Yeah. So it's a couple of things, and I'll share this really cool stat. So there are currently 42 million solopreneurs in the U.S.
Wow.
It's massive,
Yeah, I think
and
COVID has a lot to do with that too. I mean, there
it
was an
does.
explosion.
Exactly. A lot of people want to build their own business. A lot of people are seeing the opportunity to, I have talent, I'm going to go build my own thing. There has never been an easier time to build a website, get a payment online, find a client through social media, etc. So people are out there sharing their talents and making money off of it.
Yeah.
This number is going to double in the next 2 years.
Wow.
So that's the opportunity we saw. The financial side of things is a lot of these solopreneurs have never started a business, meaning they don't understand from the fact that you should set up an LLC all the way to I need to file taxes at a certain point, and if I make certain money, I need to do certain things.
Mhm.
And so, and I didn't either. I'm not going to lie. Like, this is a learning curve everyone goes through, and I'm just trying to make it easier for those who are coming next. Um, and essentially, one of the things that we saw so many of the solopreneurs, specifically the ones that had credit card debt, do is they were commingling their finances. Meaning they had one credit card. Let's say you have one credit card that you used for Instacart. You're like buying your domain on it and you're like getting payments through it and making payments for your business all in the same card. At the end of the year, it became a hot mess. Like you
Yeah.
didn't know what was what happened when, you're missing all these deductions. You're leaving up to $15,000 on the table of
Wow.
just deductions, right? And so we thought, wow, that's pretty simple to solve design wise. Like if we build something beautiful, and right now it is in the app, you pick two colors, a personal color and a business color. It can be the same credit card, but we are going to make sure that every single transaction goes to the right color.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So
It's
you're
simple.
solving the issue of separating your finances or your purchases
Mhm.
um, via a very simple color coded system.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that's step one. Step two was the analytics. Like, do you truly know what is your profit this month? Do you truly know what your expenses are for your business and personal? And so we built some automations around that and we built some very simple analytics, again, using the color coded system. And so our users, who are usually very visual, who are usually not the quantity finance people, they appreciate the simplicity of it all and the way it's built for the solopreneur. And so that's the second thing. And then last thing is sometimes you just don't know who to ask questions, or you might not know what questions you should be asking.
Hmm.
And that's Vesti, our AI chatbot. We say that she's your financial bestie. And you can ask her about deductions. She knows about your business. She knows what industry you're in. She knows what deductions are because we trained her like a CPA and financial advisor. And so she's on the lookout for you. And the idea is to get her even more involved to the point where she's like, hey, I see this Instacart. It looks like it's tagged the wrong way. Let's retag it, right? So
Hmm.
making her even more involved and nosy so that she becomes your pocket CFO.
Wow.
And so we're building a little bit of a guardrails for more solopreneurs to take the leap, feel confident, and have all the stats in their pockets.
Yeah. That's incredible. So for folks who are hearing this and they're just like, "Oh my god, this is like solving so many of the anxieties that I have about like the business finances." What how much does this cost?
Yeah, so it's at a very affordable price and it is a tax deductible expense at the end of the year. So I'll say
Mhm.
that. So it's a write off. It is $19.99 a month to start, but we do have a couple of specials. And we are even introducing a lifetime because we see this as a tool that we want you to have to grow with your business.
Mhm.
So
So for that's like way cheaper than hiring a CPA. Not to say that like one is better than the other, but I think a lot of people just don't even bother setting up the basic infrastructure of their business finances because all of it just feels overwhelming. So like if this is where you start so that your books are really nice and clean and then you can hand off this information to a financial professional or whatnot,
mhm.
like it's going to make your life so much easier. It's going to make your tax preparation bill a lot less because Your accountant doesn't have to go and do a forensic analysis of your freaking personal checking account to figure out what the hell you've been buying for the business. And just being able to understand like what those expenses and are you actually making profit? Like is this actually paying off? All that information is really important because that's going to help you understand like are we in a place where maybe we need to hire more or I can invest more in my solo 401k or I can quit my freaking job? Like this is why so many of us are doing this. But if you don't have that information and in a way that like you can digest it and understand it, it's going to be very hard for you to make any decisions with regards to future planning for the business. So I'm curious, does this app also work if you have like a larger scale business? Like, let's say you're beyond the solopreneur point. Maybe you have like a contractor and like you're the full time employee, or you have a couple people working for you. At what point does it make sense to maybe, like maybe scale to a larger, more robust system?
Yeah, so today it truly is for the solopreneur. We have ways of paying others, like invoicing and receiving.
Yeah.
But in the future, I do see a lot of the same questions like, hey, can we have this for our small business?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, we're working with CPAs and bookkeepers to truly understand the needs further beyond the solopreneur. Once we have this base fully done, fully ready, I think we can scale. But today, it really is for the solopreneur. And we want to
Mm-hmm.
stay focused because we have a huge community of women solopreneurs behind us, and we want to
Yeah.
make sure that they're best served.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because I think one of the problems in this entrepreneurship world is that so many of the tools are built for the larger scale companies. They are built for the folks who have like, they're running 7, 8 figure businesses and beyond. And it's like, but what about the folks who just cannot hire like a CFO? It's just
Mhm.
not practical to do that right now. They still need information and data. And so being able to provide that support, I think is incredible. Tell me about the name. So, Investrio, where did that name stem from? What does it mean?
I wish I had a good answer for this. Aside from like, there used to be three steps to get out of credit card debt. So, and to build wealth, right? So it was the budgeting, planning, and then investing.
Yeah.
And that's where the trio came from. The-
Oh,
And the rest was really just what was available on domain. It's so hard to name a company. Like
everything's taken.
everything's taken, especially when you start tagging like .io or .ai. It's like crazy. So it's what I found and what we could afford, and still had the trio in there.
I love it. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters as much about the name as far as like what is it actually doing and how is it helping
Yeah,
folks, right? So there is something to be said about just like the folks that get stuck on like a brand name or a logo and shit. It's like, can we actually move on? Can we actually start helping people? Can we actually build the thing? Like don't
yeah,
get caught up in the branding so much. Okay, let's talk about getting to the point where you just opened your $1 million pre-seed round to build the first financial operating system for solopreneurs, which is this amazing app. How does that work? Take us behind the scenes of what it looks like to actually like fundraise, to start or grow a project, because there's a lot of folks who have no context other than just like Shark Tank.
yeah. Oh, it's a whole learning curve too. So my co-founder Laura, which is not here today, she's actually an ex-venture capitalist. So she was in London. We met online, as you usually do with your co-founder. And I was already doing the Latinx investor thing, and I was already growing a social media when she met me, and we were on this mission to empower Latinos on their financial well-being. And she knows how to fundraise. So basically, she came in with the knowledge that I had zero clue about.
Hmm.
And she taught me how to pitch, how to put together a pitch deck, how to go and chat with an investor for the first time, because these are things that I did not know anything about.
Yeah.
And she also comes with an extremely organized, like entrepreneurial mindset. So she was a solopreneur in the past, as was I. She had a business running a fashion brand out of London, and I was doing the coaching. And so, and that's important for later because we pivot into that precise, specific set of people.
Hmm.
Uh, but she taught me all I knew at the beginning about venture capital. And essentially, we started the business with just a pitch deck and an idea and an Excel spreadsheet product, which isn't really venture backable. But we kept having this conversation over and over with investors and becoming better at sharing our story, becoming better at telling more about our vision and our mission, and eventually building the right traction that got them interested. Right. So
Mm,
when it comes to startup land, it's a story, your traction, and your execution. And so Laura really was focused on those three things and making sure that we always had those three things accomplished. Because I
mhm.
can get a little crazy and go build stuff and try a lot of experiments. Um, and so I credit her a lot because it takes a lot of effort to fundraise,
I can imagine.
a lot. So here's another stat for our crowd. So less than 2% of venture capital goes to women,
Mm,
right? So a lot of the projects being funded out there, and there's a reason you probably see the FANG, Facebook, Amazon, all of the other ones, they're white men. And
yeah.
they all went to Harvard, Stanford, MIT, or something like that. So we're on the opposite side, right? Where less than 0.05% of capital goes to Latina and women of color. And now we're a female founded fintech, two Latinas. So we're on the very opposite end. And
Yeah.
neither one of us went to Ivy League, right? I went to Bucknell University, amazing school, but not Ivy League. And that's okay. I think ideas are everywhere. Opportunity isn't, right? So either way, we were like, let's defeat the odds and let's go build. And so we always kept that in mind as like this is something that is a problem, but it's not going to let us down. We're going to keep going. And so we had the opportunity to apply for Techstars. We actually applied 3 times, didn't get in twice. Third time, after a lot of effort, a lot of refinement of the story, a lot more traction, a lot more support from our network, a lot more mentoring, we finally get in.
Mm,
And we had this opportunity, and it was the first time ever somebody wrote us a check. So Techstars was our first investor. Because up until
wow.
then, it was like a year of just us, our again, no salaries, just us investing our own money into the startup. We didn't have angels, we don't have rich families, so really it was just us two, our vision and our craziness. And now we finally have Techstars who believes in us and is like, yeah, go build, and provides this amazing network, amazing infrastructure. And get this, we are in a program specifically in New York for economic mobility, focus on
Mm,
building for low and middle income Americans to grow their well being, right?
wow.
Financial wealth, health, whatever the case. So we're surrounded with like 12 other companies in this accelerator in an amazing space here in New York by the UN. Um, and they were our first investors. And after that, we have been able to raise a little bit more by angels, and we're hitting the ground hard this fall with our new traction, new metrics, continued vision to build the financial operating system for solopreneurs, because it is a little bit more than money, right? It's a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
And by building a pocket CFO, that's really what we see as a solution.
That's incredible. And I think it just speaks to the power of not giving up and resilience, right? Because when you think about those other two rounds of Techstars that you did not make it to, um, it's like this was where you were meant to be because of the underlying goal of that cohort, right? Of just the mission that they were focused on at the time. And so I'm such a firm believer in the idea that like the thing that is meant for you is going to wait for you until you're ready.
Yeah.
And at that point, you guys were ready. So let's talk about something that you've mentioned a couple times too that can be a really big barrier to folks who want to enter this startup world, which is I'm gonna quit my job. I don't know how I'm gonna fucking pay my bills, but we're gonna build this thing that's gonna change the world. So tell us how you've been able to sustain yourself. Like, what have you done from a personal finance standpoint that's given you this space to pursue this goal? Because a lot of folks are just like, ma'am, what do you mean quit your job and like start a company?
Yeah. And it's not cheap in New York City, I'll tell you that much. So my background has always been in finance, but I was not always very good at money. But at one point, I did become financially literate, and I highly, highly recommend it if you're going to be a business owner or just in general. Just become as financially literate as you can. Read as many books, listen to as many podcasts, start investing yesterday. Um, I did that for the past 11 years. First one in my family to ever buy a stock, like
Hmm.
literally. And so I've been able to build a little bit of a nest egg, right? Not to sound crazy, but it's like I've been able to build something for a long time, and so I have had that financial well-being behind me to be able to quit my job and do this. I also did budget for a very long time before I quit my job. In hindsight, should not have quit that soon, but we wouldn't be right here where we are right now, I think.
Mhm.
And then I also have the support from my family. So I'm married and I have support from my husband to build a startup. And so that's also, I have to say it, it's been a massive help. Sometimes when I feel like, oh my gosh, it's not going to work, I'm going to
Mhm.
quit and get a job. And I've had those moments. It's like, no, keep going. Like, bills are paid, we're okay. Just keep going.
Mhm.
And I say that because you're going to need support, right? Whether it's from your family, whether you're moving back to your mom's house, like basement, no problem. Like if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. But
Yeah.
it does take a lot of sacrifices. And I will never hide that fact that
Mhm.
I've had a lot of help and it's been a huge sacrifice.
Yeah. I love the transparency there too, because oftentimes I think one of the things that like really pisses me off about just the entrepreneurship culture is the lack of transparency of all the sacrifices and the time and the energy and all of like the shit that it has taken somebody to get to like where they are today.
Hmm.
Right? I feel like a lot of that stuff gets not told. A lot of those stories are just not told because it's not the sexy part, right? You don't want to talk about the failures and the bad investments and the mistakes and the pivots and blah blah blah. But I think that is all part of the founder story that makes people connect, right? So I would just love to see more real talk about what it actually takes to bring these companies to life. It doesn't happen overnight. And especially if you're a first gen, founder, you don't have the trust fund, you don't have the backup plan. It's like it does require a lot of sacrifice and without the promise of success.
Hmm.
So on those days where it feels like what are we doing? Why are we doing this? Like I could just uncomplicate my life, go back to get a job, get my benefits, get my 401k. What is it that keeps you motivated? How do you stay above the fray?
Yeah. No, that's so true. And you mentioned it before, and I will always highlight it. As a first gen, we know that it's us or it's us. Like there is no backup plan, and like there is no like wealthy family member to run to. Anyways, so Laura, who I mentioned you is my co-founder, my online co-founder, and now BFF, and sometimes roommate. Um, she and I had these moments right through this past year and a half of doing this and building and hitting the wall so many times. And oftentimes it was like, okay, let's regroup, let's have a breath, let's go for a walk, let's think about what's triggering it, right? And let's remember the mission. One other thing that has helped us so much is finding our people. Once we found our clients and found who we were specifically supporting, the women that we work with, and the app is for everybody, but we do have this massive community of women entrepreneurs in New York and in Miami. It became so clear. It took away a lot of those doubts. And
Mm,
it was like, I'm not just doing this for me. I'm not doing this for a fancy exit. I'm building this for them. We're building this together. We're
mhm.
building this in transparent color on social media. We're telling a story. We're representing them. So
Yeah.
every time I feel like I have a win, they have a win. We have a WhatsApp channel and it's 500 women. And it's like every Friday, share your wins. What do you need help with? Like, let's support one another. Because it no longer became like my startup, it became our startup. It became our shared wins. It became our shared trust. And that has helped us so much too. Like there is no failure. Like
Mhm.
we're just gonna keep going. Everything's an experiment. We're just gonna keep growing.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk more about building that community. So you mentioned you have basically built this community from the ground up and it seems like you have a very close tie with them. It's almost like you have a huge focus group that you can go to and be like, "Hey guys, like what do you want to see this be?" Um, you know, take us behind the scenes of what it takes to build a community that believes in what you're building.
Yeah. It took a lot of conversations. So from those hundreds of people that I've interviewed way back when, we kept doing that. And now we're in the thousands of interviews, right? So we keep talking to entrepreneurs, solopreneurs of all types, small business owners that have grown past the threshold, and we're always trying to find how can we help, how can we become, supportive. And we have this mentality of give first. And so if there's any way that we can support the entrepreneurs, that's how we always approach it. But starting a community, I think, is become a hot topic in the last couple of years, of like everyone has a community and they monetize it or whatever. Our community is free. We host a coffee meetup every month in New York, and we
Hmm.
host them bi-monthly in Miami. And it truly is like, just come, bring whatever you need help with, and come with a good intention of helping others. And they join our WhatsApp. And the accounting software is an amazing add-on, but the community truly is on its own a huge thing already. And that's where we found our first few users, our beta testers, our first few clients who paid for the subscription. And they are diehard supporters, and I hope that I can continue to support them. And I do personally know every single person there. I try to
Wow.
get to know everybody.
That's incredible. And I think it speaks to just the power of human connection, right? In a world where AI is becoming such a hot topic and people are like really concerned about, am I going to have a business that even exists a decade from now? They're talking about, virtual influencers and like basically replacing all these jobs. I think that's the one thing that's going to save us as humanity is like human connection. Now more than ever, I think people need that. I think they want that, and so when you can build with that as like the focus, um, I think that's how we maintain our humanity in an ever changing, ever evolving, ever automating world.
Exactly. I love
Yeah.
automation. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
AI, automation, and I like besties, but you still need human connection to make business happen. And that's what we found. Like these solopreneurs, not only were they having these financial struggles that we could easily help them solve, they were lonely.
Mm,
It was so simple. Like again, like the color coding thing, in hindsight, it's also simple, but like they want to get together, they want to talk, they want to collaborate. Like, and from the community, we've seen internships come up. We've seen
mhm.
collaborations, new sales, social media branding posts. Somebody became co-founders with somebody else. Like we see this happen all the time, right? So I think that the humanness of building a business needs to be there. We're just
Yeah.
trying to make that plus the finances a little less scary.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So for folks that want to learn more about Investrio, they want to download it, they want to try it. Where can we find it? And where can we find that you?
Yeah. So we are on social media at investrio.io on Instagram and across other platforms. We are on the App Store, Apple App Store, at under Investrio, our name. And you can also use the desktop version, which is found on our website, www.investrio.io.
Amazing. Um, what's your ultimate vision for this project, Joyce? I'm curious, like, what do you envision as the end state of this app that you've built?
I don't think there's an end state. I think good products are forever evolving. I hope to always serve the needs of our customers. I definitely want to build this as the backbone of America. Like, I think so many people want to be entrepreneurs, don't know how to get started, or have been an entrepreneur for about a year or two and know that they need help. I want this to be the go to,
Hmm,
the gold standard of entrepreneurship. So,
I love
looking
that.
forward to that.
And so, Joyce, I also want to ask you this last question because I know people who are inspired by your story are going to want to hear, like, if you had been given one piece of advice to hold on to at the beginning of your founder journey, what would it be? So, can you share that with us?
Yeah. I tell this a lot to people, and I keep saying it. Run as many experiments as you possibly can. Like, as an entrepreneur, there is no failure until you stop and you give up. There is experiments that didn't go right. So run as many experiments as you can. Don't get too
Yeah.
tied down by one thing. Try as many ideas as you can. Put a little money behind every little idea, and then one of them might stick. And that's the one that you go focus on.
I love that because one of the things that I found that's super powerful about the just like the entrepreneurial journey is how much it allows you to get back into that space where you like as a kid you were okay just like experimenting, right? It's almost
Mhm.
like this is the way that adults play. They build businesses. They do things that change the world with ideas. And so I think it's so incredible to see your journey in real time, to see this product come to life, and to know that there are people from our very own community who are building amazing solutions to everyday problems. And we need to support these endeavors, because my goal, my dream, my like existential vision for like what I want to see before I leave this planet is a world where the Latina founder is not a rare thing. It's a normal thing where the dollars are invested in us because we as a community are such an economic force that
Mhm.
it's like, duh, of course we invest in Latina founders because they're the fucking future and arguably the present. Right. So keep up the great work. Super excited for folks to check out Investrio. You guys can download the app in the show notes. So check out the link in the description. Make sure that you're following all the work they're doing on Instagram. And Joyce, keep us posted, because I do want to see you on Shark Tank or something at some point, honey, because I know the sky's the limit with your vision of what you are trying to do in this world. So thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for letting me share my story.
Absolutely.